Evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gina Murdoch. I'm the founder of the Aspen Yoga Society, and my husband Jerry and I are really honored to present this series, the Mind, Body, Spirit series here at the Aspen Institute. Many of you have been here throughout the year. We started this series in January with Deepak Chopra, which was so fun. Talking about self-directed biological transformation. Very interesting stuff. And moving on, we had Marianne Williamson in March, and this summer we hosted Dr. Ellen Langer. And tonight we have a very special guest for you tonight, Goldie Hawn. Yes. Not only an Academy Award-winning actress, one of the most amazing and full-hearted, beautiful beings that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Just so honored to call her a friend, and very impressed with what she's doing in the world. Many of you know about her in film, in TV, and all the wonderful things she's done, bringing so much joy and happiness to the world through her strength of heart, her beauty, her nature. And what we're going to hear about tonight is neuroscience and what's going on in the brain and how we can use our brain to become happier, healthier, more joyful beings. So it's very exciting. We're going to talk about MindUP, neuroscience, and how that creates healthy, thriving children. So let's take a few mindful breaths here, why don't we, just to get ourselves connected into this space. We're in the Pepke Auditorium in Aspen. It's so good to be here tonight. We welcome all of our trustees and our Society of Fellows. I want to thank Crystal in particular and Peter Wanders for helping to present this tonight. So if you all with me will close your eyes, let's just take a few deep breaths together. There's so much about mindfulness that is just about slowing down, connecting to the breath, connecting to the earth. Good. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And as you exhale out through your mouth with that audible exhale. Say, ah. Let's do that 2 more times together. Inhale through your nose. And exhale. And one more, the deepest, longest, slowest breath in through the nose. And exhale out through your mouth. How does it feel to be present in this room right now? It feels really good to me. I wanted to see, is there anyone in the audience that has experience with MindUP in the classroom? I want to really reflect some gratitude to the teachers in the room, to the trainers in the room. Welcome, you guys in particular. So happy to have you here. That's great. Oh, and on CNN. Wow, okay, great. We're going to start with a short video to give you a little bit of a perspective on the program, and then we will introduce our featured speaker, Goldie Hawn. Stick with us here.
Tonight, a community is mourning the suicide of a 13-year-old who took his life at school.
Stories say she suffered nearly a year of cyberbullying.
27% of teens say they feel extreme stress during the course of the school year.
They're too tired to focus in their early
trend on the rise, teenagers cutting themselves.
Health officials are calling it an epidemic.
Prescriptions are being overprescribed.
Violent fight captured on cell phone video at a high school.
It's tough to see our kids so scared.
We're all facing different kinds of stress. For children, it's very important that we recognize that they pick up all the stresses that we as adults carry. When they come to school, they come in with silent distress. They're dealing with so many things their brains are not ready to assimilate or cognitively understand.
All the pressure that surrounds testing.
It's hard to focus when your brain's running 1,000 miles an hour thinking about something else.
In order to deal with some of the stressors, I created a program called MindUP.
MindUP teaches children how their brain works and how to control and handle things that they are feeling.
MindUP has 4 pillars. The first pillar is learning about your brain.
The prefrontal cortex is primarily what we are learning about when we're targeting. And so you have your emotional response and your executive functions, and they're overlapping. And that's going to help them in everything that they do because they're going to be able to reflect and think before they react.
The second pillar is a brain break. Every child, every brain needs a break.
Think about the things you have. Think about the things you're grateful for. That helps me relax and calm down.
Our brain breaks are what helps our children focus. When we begin to quiet the mind, it strengthens the mind.
That simple act of breathing 3 times a day has made a huge difference for everyone.
We give them mindfulness practices which are wrapped around their curriculum to create more focused attention, being aware of the present moment without judgment.
But really the whole point of the sequencing in the MindUP program is to help students come to an awareness.
When our bodies and brains work together, they will be more successful in their schoolwork and their home life.
Our fourth pillar is our place in the world.
Those ideas of happiness, optimism, perspective taking.
An optimistic child in a safe environment is a child who can learn.
We've all embraced it, and it's so funny after thinking, oh my gosh, something else to do, it's now just part of what we do.
All these things help a child become more focused, more positive, and you have better results.
You create a culture of kindness in your classroom. They feel safe with each other, they feel safe with their teacher. You have to have a sense of safety to be able to be open to all the amazing things that you're going to learn.
It's also helped me take time for myself.
And now I just feel like I'm more at peace and it's not so crazy. I kind of find a center.
MindUP is kind of just like... MindUP is sort of like, it's about helping the brain. It helps you stay focused. Just was too afraid to. Use mindful breathing and I calm myself. Calm me down. I have to do mindful breathing to calm myself down and just do it. MindUP is awesome.
The MindUP program is now serving globally over 400,000 children. That's a drop in the bucket. Every child needs a chance to thrive, to feel that they have a special gift. If we don't give them that respect, we're not doing our job in educating the leaders of tomorrow.
Please join me in welcoming Goldie Hawn to the stage. Thank you so much, Goldie, for being with us today.
You're tall, girl. This is so much fun. I love to come home and speak to the people in my hometown. It's wonderful to be here, and I want to thank everybody who really has embraced MindUP in the Valley, and it's so exciting to see, and all those hands raised. And I remember coming in for CNN and how great that was, and how grateful I am. Thank you. Hi. To being able to help Sue, to help us do this, and it was very, very exciting. I just, speaking for a half an hour on MindUP is a challenge because we know about certain aspects of the brain. We also know how to put it together, and I'll share that a little bit with you in a minute. But I think you kind of, when you talk about Marianne Williamson, who's a spiritual person, and you talk about Deepak Chopra, who's a deep, unbelievable doctor and a scientist, and you speak about, Ellen Langer, who's just a wild and crazy girl, and she is a real researcher. And they come up with some of the wonderful ways that we can share the importance of mindfulness or the effect of meditation on the brain. But I came in as a dancer. And when I started dancing as a young girl, dancing became my mantra. And literally was very inclined to have a philosophy at a very young age, which I did, because at 11 years old, I was self-declared, but my job in this life was to be happy. So when people would say to me, well, Goldie, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what do you want to be? And I thought to myself, even at 11, I really wanted to be happy. And I answered that, and I said, I want to be happy. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, well, yeah. They didn't ask me what I wanted to do. And those were two different things. What do I want to do? Well, I want to be a dancer. And then I want to sing. But what do I want to be really mattered to me. So at 11 years old, this was something that I really embraced. And I embraced it for a reason I still don't understand, except that maybe I saw that adults weren't as happy as children, or maybe something happened to me. So I went back into this self-discovery. And I realized that at 11 years old, I had an inciting incident that really frightened me for many, many years to come. And that was when I was in 6th grade. I was one of the younger ones in the class. And the teacher said, boys and girls, we're going down to the visual aids room and we're going to see a movie. And of course it was so fun because it was going to be an agricultural film, about Iowa and how we grow corn. And I knew we weren't going to have to do math. And I was just very excited. And we got down there and we got in there, and those are the days with the 16 millimeter. And the lights went down, and we sat in our little metal chairs, and we waited, and what came on the screen was this flashing black, white clock, and 9, 8, 7, 6, and it went bound to 0, and when it went to 0, it went, and then it said, this is what will happen when there's an enemy attack. And I, being a sensitive child, a ballet dancer, I was happy, everybody loved me, I was going to live forever. I never thought about any of that. I went into a complete state of anxiety. And I started to shake involuntarily. And I went to the teacher, and of course they were just panning moms calling for babies and blood coming out of their mouth. And by the way, the film was horribly done. I mean, as a filmmaker today, I could look at it and go, are they kidding? I mean, that blood is ketchup. But as it was, of course, it was to make us say, duck and cover. When that light comes, you get under that desk. Oh, really? That's going to save me from the Russians? So, I mean, I said, so I went to the teacher, and I said to her, and I never went home for school. I always had hot lunch. And I said, I really, Mom, my mom's expecting me to come home for lunch, and I have to go home. And my heart was pounding, and I was, I tell you, I was so frightened. I was in a sweat. I ran home from school. I called my mom on the phone. I said, Mom, we're all going to die. We're going to die, and the Russians are going to kill us. And I'm never going to kiss a boy, and it's not going to work. And she said, well, what? Now, this is my mother. Sorry, she's a good Jewish mother. What the hell are you talking about? So she comes back from the store in her pointy shoes and her fabulous little straight skirt, because we had a gift shop and a watch shop. And she comes in, and she is so angry. She says, now, what did they show you? I said, well, they told me, and they showed me the thing, and it was a clock, and it showed, and everybody was dying. And she said, okay. So she called the school. And then she called the Board of Education, and she said, what in the world are you telling our children? How do you think that they're going to take this at their age and make them think that they're not going to die tomorrow? And how dare you put that propaganda in our kids' school and blah, 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 blah. She was an activist and a tough cookie. On the other hand, she was right, because my brain was not able to assimilate that. And it put me into a state of fear, to the point, I know this is funny, but I was so frightened from any siren, because that thing, that siren meant death. Instant white light death. So every time the fire engine would go, because we had one fire engine thing in our neighborhood, it would go off at 12 o'clock. I'd call the operator and I would say, excuse me, are we having an enemy attack? So that's what my life was like. And when I went to school, I didn't want to go to school when we were having an air raid practice, because that's what it did to my body. It's what it did to my mind. It did to my, as the kids today would know that take MindUP, what it did to my emotional limbic system and my amygdala. I wasn't thinking straight. And my mind wasn't thinking straight because I was scared out of my mind. So this I went through for a long time, out of high school. And it lasted because I didn't understand what was going on with me. I had no context to understand what was happening to me. I didn't know that I had an amygdala. I didn't know I had a prefrontal cortex. In fact, I didn't know I had a brain. So how was I going to use it to be able to help me not only learn better, get ahead, but also to deal with my emotional issues, which all children have. every one of them. Just not children at risk in the urban areas or the inner cities. And not just our children of affluence who are dealing with another set of difficulties. It really doesn't matter. Is that this is a practice that we all have to learn, and the younger we learn it, the better. So anyway, getting into the rest of the story is that I go on, and here I go, and I make movies, and I do this, and that's another story and another kind of a talk. Fun. But anyway, so I get in and I get picked out of the chorus and I do all this stuff, and I had my life plan. And my life plan was to do a little of this, dance a little of that, go home, get married, open a dancing school, have children, and get married. And be happy. That didn't work out. So what happened is I got picked out of a chorus line. My life changed. I suddenly was thrown into a studio that was dark, that I was learning lines, and I was now on a TV show for 26 weeks. I left all my dancer friends that I just met. I was brand new in Hollywood. I didn't know where I was. My umbilical cord had stretched 3,000 miles. I was 19, and I started having anxiety. I didn't know what was happening to me. People were asking me for my autograph, and the show wasn't even on yet. How do we process some of these things in our brain when we're not trained? We don't understand where this is coming from. So I went to a psychologist. Why? Because I wanted to know why I wasn't jumping up and down, and I wasn't going, oh, good, I'm going to be a star. I was afraid of being a star because I thought they were all so screwed up. I wanted a normal life. And I didn't know at that point that my choices were all what I was about. And all it was up to me was to make a choice. I am going to have a normal life. But at that point, I didn't have the brain understanding. I didn't have the control. I didn't have the self-reflection. So I did 8 years of the most amazing experience going through analysis, learning more about the college of me, understanding my relationship with people around me. Who is that person that says, oh, I love you, Goldie? They don't know me. They don't know what they love about me. But I learned to differentiate, to say that person is only looking at me for what I bring to them. It's not me. It's the energy. It's the feeling. And so this was a part of my life. And then every movie that I did, that I produced, had to be about something because society matters, because people matter to me. The fact that I was able to make movies, I'm so grateful. But what was really important was, are we making a difference? Are we making a difference in the world that we choose to live in? And is your movie making and all the things that you're doing and the money that you're making, where is your gratitude? And at what point do you turn around and say, it's time for me to give back? So that's what happened. And it happened at 9/11. And it happened with me at home, getting my last child off to school. And someone saying, pick up the phone, pick up open your television, turn it on, and see what's happening. And we all went into shock, and the whole family pulled together, and the world pulled together. And all I could think of was what I felt when I was 11, and I thought the world was coming to an end. We didn't see buildings going down 50 times a day. We didn't do this where children little thought that maybe it was happening all the time. We didn't know that there was this uncertainty, the underlying uncertainty that was creating more frenzy in children's lives and brains than we even recognized. We were trying to put pieces together because our future was uncertain. So I sat there with my kids, we watched television, we cried and cried. I knew that our life had changed forever, that our life in America had had a sea change, and it wasn't good. And the only thing that I could think of was, I need to go upstairs, I need to find my knitting wool, I have so much of it, all my unknit sweaters. I went in and I pulled red, white, and blue, and I picked it out, and I knit the American flag. And I knit it for a week, and I sat there and I mourned. And I thought, and all I could think of was the children, because that's what they're inheriting. Our children are inheriting a different world than the world we grew up in. They're inheriting a frenzied, frightening world. They're inheriting a world where they can't see their enemies. They're inheriting a world that we basically need to fix, because that's our job. We are the grown-ups. We should be the mindful ones. We should teach them how to live in this next challenging time period. So I went up to Vancouver and I decided that my career was a wonderful thing. But because of the studies I'd done in brain science, spiritual practice, my own spiritual practice since 1972, my experience in meditation and understanding how it knits the brain together so beautifully. And now there was an onset of research that was undeniable. And I asked myself, why aren't we putting this in schools? Why don't our children know about their brain? We ask them to use it. Can any of them describe what it is? Do any of them know what this tool is and how to use it? Do they know that when they're upset and afraid and scared and they're overexcited and they're nervous and they're telling themselves stories that aren't fair, that I'm not good enough, they can fix that. They need to know the context of their emotions. Their emotions have a way to have contextual relevance in a cognitive way. So I decided, and by the way, I didn't create the program, I dreamed the program. So what I did is pull together the experts in the field. I pulled together neuroscientists, pulled together positive psychologists, pulled together teachers, pulled together mindfulness practitioners, and put them all in a room for 18 months, and came out with MindUP. And MindUP for schools, because I figured that in schools is where we have our children for most of the time. We have them 6 hours a day, 7 sometimes. And we can create brain breaks in that classroom. And we didn't go through it in meditation. We went through it in ways that I felt we could get into our schools through neuroscience. Because neuroscience is the answer. What we tell our brains will do. Neuroplasticity, we all know now, is a household word. 12 years ago when I started this, people thought I had 3 heads. I mean, Goldie, really, are you doing this? Yeah. Well, good luck. I said, well, thanks. But I put shows on the road. And we've done our research on this, and a very strong research. And the research has come out where our children have more management over their emotions, where bullying went down on the playground without ever mentioning the word bullying, where our children's executive function was quicker on the uptake than the control group, and where our children made themselves happier, 83% rise in optimism, and kids were working together better in the classroom. What's wrong with that? And why can't we put that show on the road? So I did. And I went piece by piece, bit by bit, and let me tell you, creating a foundation that is carving new pathways into things that people don't know about is not easy. Especially when you grow up making people laugh and those people think you, well, Goldie Hawn, wow. What a bubblehead. Well, let me tell you, I don't know one dumb comedian. So, putting all of this together and scaling it in Vancouver, one of the obstacles I'd say that we came by was everyone saying, well, how are you going to scale? So the social and emotional learning programs, which, by the way, I didn't even know existed, all I cared about were our kids. And what we learned about as we were doing this in Vancouver is that the teachers were getting the great benefit out of it as well. And on top of it, the children were going home and telling their parents about their amygdala and how they need to breathe and calm down because their wise old owl prefrontal cortex isn't working. I applaud the children and our teachers here. So it really does make a difference, is how we do this. So we started, scaling this. So the big thing was, well, how are you going to scale? We're having a terrible time scaling social and emotional learning programs. So I started looking into social and emotional learning programs. And what they did was, and I don't want to put any of them down because they're all there to do good, but they're dealing with the problem head on. How not to bully.
how to eat well, how to not take abuse. And I looked at that and I said, you can't teach children and Band-Aid a problem and call it a name. You have to change the whole way that they work. Well, how do our classrooms work? What are we giving our kids for the basic fundamental tools? So we don't have to say don't bully. They do it automatically. When we give them their gratitude, and they do gratitude circles every day, they do gratitude journals, that already changes the brain. When they do acts of kindness, which is also in their curriculum, that changes the brain. It actually puts yourself in someone else's shoes. So empathy starts to grow neurologically. You begin to fire. Your neurons fire differently. Dopamine becomes emitted in the brain. Serotonin. There's an uptake in these neurotransmitters. This is what we want our children to feel. Unthreatened, understand compassion and empathy. We're losing that in the classroom. And a lot of the reasons we're losing it is also, I think a lot of it has to do with our technology. Because the more violence we see, the more we protect our brain against it because we can't feel that kind of feeling. So we then evidently just cast it off as just another killing, just another abuse. Oh, he fell down and hurt his leg. Nobody's helping him. There are so many things that are happening. So anyway, I started scaling. And then people said to me, well, oh, you have this district? Oh, yeah. How did you get it? Oh, we're in through neuroscience. We're going in and teaching children about their brain. Well, you have these schools in Chicago, and how did you get these in Minneapolis? And how did you get these schools in? Because there's a program that works. It doesn't Band-Aid anything. And we cannot Band-Aid this problem anymore. And when we want our children to feel mindful, we need to begin to put that name, that word, back in the vernacular of their school, of their home. Mindfulness, they had no idea what that was. When I go into classrooms early days, I said, God, do you know what mindfulness is? Or to be mindful? No. Do you know what mindless is? Yes. That was an indication that we have to change the way kids think and so on and so forth. So anyway, now that we've scaled the program and we've moved it into all of these other areas, we then built our parent training program. Why? Because our parents asked for it. They want to know how they can have and partake into this practice. They want to know how to help their children. And then that becomes a very sustainable model. So now what we have is about 400, over 1,000 children globally that are now practicing MindUP, that they are now, thank you. We added 200,000 children last year. We are now up to 400,000. And in 2 years, we're going to get to 1 million. And it's not hard. We did it, we're going to do it again, and we're going to keep going. And what happens is that after at that point you realize that the next 200,000, it's $7.50 a child. And after that, it ends up being nothing. Because our sustainable program begins to let those children flourish, those trainings happen, those don't need to be paid for anymore, we go on to the next. So in terms of the program and its growth and sustainability, I think the biggest problem that we have right now is that we have more growth and more need than we have resources. And our resources, if we had the resources that we need, we would be scaling not just in America, not just in Canada, and not just in the UK, which we already have just 35 schools in London alone. And that's over just 2 years. We just went into Serbia. We're now scaling in Serbia. We now are in Hong Kong. And we have a huge following in Hong Kong. No resources. We are in Venezuela, believe it or not. We have a couple schools in Venezuela, but we're in South America as well. But you have to be able to sustain this kind of need. And when you don't, you have to stop this growth. Well, with the right resources and the right financial support and the right sponsorship, we don't have to stop. Because we have the way to do it. It's tried, it's true, and we've already got a Cantonese and a Spanish translation. It's not that hard. So when we talk about the importance of caring about our children, and I think we have a lot of areas where we can look at our children and say, they need this, they need that, they need food. Our children go to hungry. 50% of our children in America, in the southern states, are hungry. They live under the poverty line. How can we expect our children to learn when they're hungry? What tools are we giving them to sustain themselves so they don't go home in fear, that they feel that they do have hope? We have to figure out ways to give children hope, knowing that they have a facility that can grow and that they can shape and they can create their own kind of thinking and their own outcomes, that they're in the driver's seat. We want our children to believe that they can make it. And we want our children, parents, to be able to support that, to help the parents not be so reactive, to give them a brain break, give them a mindful breath, tell them it's okay, try not to be so reactive. Your children are precious. They are our most precious resource. And we have to sustain that first and foremost. Most importantly, we can save our children from diseases. We can save all of our children from malaria. We can go out and save our children to help them go through school and understand what it is when they've been suffering genocide. But the question is if these programs and this kind of program is not set there, who's going to save their soul? What's going to happen to them when they reach the kind of stresses and fears and uncertainty and poverty? Who's going to help them? The only thing that they can have is the solidity to know that A, they are valuable, B, that they can make a difference, and C, that there is hope there. Giving them these tools is vitally important. It's most important for our health care. It will diminish our stressors, which is a big leading cause of health problems. And we have a partnership with Aetna right now. So now we have created a partnership where we are now putting this in schools. We finally got them to understand that when you bring children in and these practices in the classroom, you are working on physical and mental health. We've had conversations with the National Institutes of Mental Health and asking the big question, are these interventions that we can do at a very early age, could they mitigate mental health problems? The answer was yes. One of the issues that we deal with is mindfulness, and research on mindfulness is still not looked upon by these people as being valid. But I tell you, whether the research is there or not, and it will continue to be there because we're continuing to be a part of that, but you can't argue with neuroscience. And you can't argue with teaching children how their brain works, because that's where they find strength. And they know when they take a breath what happens to their brain. And they know how to activate their brain. So for better or worse, for a better world for our children, and a way that we can, each and every one of us, devote some time, effort, not only becoming more mindful ourselves and becoming a symbol, an experience, a person that says, this is who I am for your children, that's the job we have to do in this very, very troubled world. So I guess that's what I'm doing now. I've thought about going back to work. Nothing is more interesting than this. Maybe nothing is more important than I've ever done in my life than what I'm doing right now. And when I walk into a classroom, and I walk into Susan Wheeler's classroom, and these children are explaining how it's changed their lives, I get tears in my eyes. I still do. And I was just there in Los Angeles. We did a fundraiser there. And I went and I met the congressman from Pacoima and the whole area, which is a very challenged area. These children are all gangs. They don't get out. It's really something. He said, I want to go to the classroom. So he goes and he sits in the classroom and he said, I meet the president. And I go to Washington because, I'm a congressman. And he said, and sometimes I get nervous. Could anyone here in the classroom help me? And what you've learned with MindUP and how you could help me, maybe not be so nervous? And one little boy was in 5th grade. And he said, what you need to do is you need to sit quietly before you meet him, and you need to breathe. And then that will relax your amygdala. And it will allow your prefrontal cortex to then connect to the hippocampus, because that's where your memory is. He said, and then you'll remember everything you wanted to say to him. And the congressman's eyes just welled up, because these are the children that don't get out. These are the hope for the future, for these very challenged areas of our children that don't know if they're going to get killed when they walk to school. So when you understand that you can give children like that and make people weep from happiness, you know you're doing something right. So nothing stops me. Nothing will ever stop me. It didn't early days. I just kept going. And you go against all odds, and I look at those buffalo out there, and they put their face to the wind. And that's what I do. I stand there, and I put my face into the wind. And we're going to win this. And every child in the next 20 years will have neuroscience as an absolute must in every classroom in America, if not the world. And that is my dream. Thank you. I think, is it time to ask questions? All right, so anybody that has any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them, because it's sometimes the most fun part, you know. Yeah.
So what school systems are accepting of the program?
So we are in public schools and some private schools. And so there's a mixture, but mostly public. And they're all, some of them are, what's happened is in the early days, it was sort of like, what's this? And now we're getting flooded. So as we have grown and continued to move forward in the program, and as mindfulness and these kinds of things that are happening today, and we're seeing in the news, did you see 60 Minutes? They're wonderful, isn't it? I mean, it really does show you that this isn't just some practice that you do because you're like, you know, one of these. Yogi, you really are. We have all the tools to have all this, and it really starts to understand it when you understand the magnificent ability to shift and change our brain. So that's what's beginning to happen. So now there's a swell of school superintendents, and we're just going to the Reno entire school district, which is about 85 schools.
What about Aspen?
We're here. We're definitely here. We're in the Aspen Aspen Country Day. And they've been amazing. We're in Basalt. Susan, are you here? Where are you? Yeah, the amazing principal. Oh my God. Basalt Elementary. How many children are in the school?
650.
Okay, so 650 kids in this valley every day, 3 times a day, a brain break.
Aspen Elementary has it also.
And Aspen Elementary. Fantastic. That is great. I'm really happy about that. Every now and then I get surprised. That's really great. We have schools in Rifle. There is, I think, what else do we do? There's a list. So we are in the valley, definitely. And the amount of buy-in that we've had here has been really great. And we need to, move it further into the valley, most definitely. In which case, then we'll, obviously we start bringing in, our change makers, our congressman, and, I wanted to get the governor up here. What happened to him? Yes.
Would you like to come back and visit my classroom again, maybe tomorrow?
Now you...
Watch the third grade play tomorrow. The holiday play. Would you like to come watch the play?
Is that tomorrow? What time?
Yes. 2:15 and 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I would love to.
Awesome.
I really would. Oh, that's great. Oh, I'd love to. And I want to talk to you some more.
Oh,
because you had some wonderful ideas in terms of, we have something called mindful movement, right? Well, tell them what you did with the times tables.
Well, we do a lot of skip counting and jumping jacks and ladder climbs, and we do a lot of mindful math, such as could everybody just show me like a right angle?
Yeah, I love that one.
Or a square.
And a square.
Rectangle.
Wait a minute, where's my, oh, I have not enough fingers. Where's my square?
Two acute angles.
Yeah.
And a rhombus.
All right.
And it's just a lot
of
moving, and the kids really remember that for years to come. They come back and tell me I was taking a test, and I was doing that with my body to remember those things, and how many corners, and how many vertices, and this and that.
So what he's saying here is that all this stuff sounds crazy. It's how the brain remembers. So there are many ways that the brain remembers, but in somatic experience, which is how we are feeling, as for instance, and I remember as a dancing routine, I would remember how it feels along with the music so it wasn't just step, point, step, it was this. So when you're teaching, we wrap our curriculum around all of our practices. So this is not an add-on, guys. This is a kind of a program that is wrapped inside the curriculum, whether it's English or math. And I think this is one of our wonderful teachers who has created a whole way to create math within mindful movement. So the brain remembers because it's having a somatic and fun experience. So it's really exciting. Oh, way to go. Talk to me later, but it's 2:30. 2:30 or 2:15? Yeah, at the school.
Yes, at the Salt Middle School auditorium.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll do my Christmas shopping first. Yes?
Hi, I'm from Orlando, Florida, and a former teacher, and I was wondering how, if we wanted to get the program started in Orlando, Florida, to help with our public schools, what would a first step be?
You would have to call the office and speak to the people there. You call the MindUP, you go to our website, which is thehawnfoundation.org.
And connect it with our public schools.
Exactly. So then you would, call the people there, with the phone, say you got schools in Orlando. You would like to be able to talk about this. What we're doing now is, just so you know, because we've got a lot of one-offs, we want to be able to cobble schools together in districts. So if Orlando is a school that you want to do and you can get a few principals interested, then you can bring it in and we can cobble. We're also in Dade County. So we are in Florida.
So I'm curious about, these great principles and districts that allow this, but there's a reality factor of release time for teachers to be trained.
Right.
Because just because we love children doesn't mean we are mindful people.
Tell me about it.
So how do you get the schools to release the time for training when, like you said in your video, there's so much. There's so many new inventions.
There's so much. So what we do with the training is that you have, days. You've got your training days. What are they called? The development days. So you have so many development days, right? And then in doing so, that one of those development days is basically taken up with this. And what you do is you train. Now, what the teachers feel is that, this is like something else you have to learn. But what you realize is that this isn't teaching math, it isn't teaching that. It really is a fun program. Because now you're implementing these things, and all the things add-on that we have for our teachers are, this is what you could do for math, this is how you can align with this, with this. What happens is the teachers are now having more time. So what this has done is helped our teachers. So in a way, is the teachers are saying, well, what's in it for me? Well, a load is in it for you. Because not only can you learn to manage your own emotion, do you have a brain break 3 times a day? Not only do you take it home and learn what's going on in your own brain and understand how you are not only buying time in your classroom, which is what it is, but you're enjoying it more. And I think ultimately it's a prescriptive. It isn't a Band-Aid. It's a way we can start looking at this. We're going into, by the way, teachers' colleges now. So these teachers want to come out already armed with understanding how to create a more optimistic classroom, how to create more patience and tolerance in the classroom, right? And then when you do the brain breaks, these kids are now asking it for before testing, right? So it's what happens. It was a sustainable program. They will come back, you connect, you need more tutoring, more mentoring, they come back at a different time. So we stay with you. So it's, but I swear, you'll be so happy you did, right? Yeah, makes a difference.
How did you begin in this area? How did you begin to meditate or be interested in mindfulness?
1972, I was initiated, and I wanted to learn to meditate. And so that was the TM method, and that's how I started. And that was a long time ago. And I had some tremendous, wonderful experiences in my first time meditating. And it really started, I could feel it changing my biology, neurobiology right away. And of course we know now, maybe we don't, some of us, but through meditation, through even an 8-week period, you begin to strengthen your cortex. So there are many aspects of meditation that have a direct physiological effect on your brain, which at the same time you realize, gee, I didn't get mad about that time, or, oh, I feel a little bit more peaceful today, or I'm not as reactive as I used to be. So the results really come through the meditation, but it was back then. Did you
Hi,
raise your
Goldie.
hand?
Thanks so much for being here. I'm Carly, and the three of us here represent teachers and coaches and therapists who work with disabilities, specifically autism and learning disabilities. And we have brought in yoga and meditation into our programs and seen great success. And I'm wondering, with your program, specifically MindUP, if you have gotten into the special ed programs or seen this as well with the disability
I'm sorry, the
population.
last thing you said had gotten into?
Sorry, what?
Has our program gotten into, and I didn't hear the last part.
Any special ed classrooms or within people with disabilities.
Exactly. The answer is we've worked with some autism. We have had a lot of success, but these are the children that are autistic that are actually integrated in the classroom. And we have some great stories about how it affected them in order to pull their brains back into place and learn to focus. There are ways in which the children have brain break when they go into like episodes of repetitive spasming and things like that. But here's what's interesting about building an organization. You have so much capacity and a big idea. And what happens is that you can't go beyond your capacity. If we had the capacity, we would have had MindUP for Autism 2 years ago. We would have been able to have a leader for that, somebody to push that forward and make that happen. Unfortunately, we don't. So what we have now is 4 people working steadily hard. We have reached all these kids this way. But when you start reaching out, where people now at first responders, now medical we're looking at. And we're really looking at really focusing and saying, look, we win in schools. So this is where we are right now. Schools, community, and parents, and teachers, of course. So that's kind of where our focus is. But it makes me crazy because MindUP is a developmental program. That's a brand that can be developed in any of these areas. So whether it's MindUP Sports or MindUP for, focus, or MindUP for healthcare, or MindUP for, all of it, and for our children with disabilities. So this is a really good point, and I have to say that we just don't have the resources to get there right now. And good for you. That was good.
Goldie, thank you. Is there a place for old dogs to go learn these new tricks?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know how much it has to do with being old, because I know that there was someone, and I was just talking to Dr. Dan Siegel. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a genius. He's written Mindsight and Mindful Brain and many, many, many things. We were at breakfast the other morning, and he had the most amazing experience with mindfulness with a man who was 94, and he went into this, and he went wholeheartedly. It was hard for him, but literally the man changed so much of his patterns of behavior, and having a much more sort of a more beautiful experience in the now, So the answer is, of course there's a place to go. I don't think you can go into the classroom. But I know we have a bunch here that can get you into really understanding the beauty of mindfulness.
Hi. Ooh, that's loud. Thank you so much for bringing this awareness to the Valley. I do not see it at all in Glenwood, and I have been a volunteer coordinator for many years there. And through getting the honor of having some classroom time with the children of things I don't understand, which is like 5th and 6th grade math, I bring a lot of this into it. They love it. It seems like the counselors and the teachers are they're tied and they're bound by so many boundaries that are put on them now that when I try to bring it up, how does a parent go about, you said there was parent training?
There's parent training. There is, now, by the way, just so you know, I'm the founder and the visionary, and we have a wonderful program, and we've got a team that's doing all this. So the way you would do it is you would contact the organization, and you would say, this is who we are, this is what I do, this is what I want to be able to happen. In terms of, you have to have really, really need principal buy-in, because that's the only way it's going to work. It's the top-down system, And so if you're doing it in the classroom, it's awesome. Sometimes that happens where you do it, and then someone else wants it, and then we can do what we call regional training. And then regional trainings are when you come, but you pay for the regional training. You have it for 2 days, like on a weekend. So it's a real seminar. And then that training would happen, and then you would take that back into your classroom. However, it's a different model than it is for us to actually work with the classroom itself in the school, right? So one is very sustainable, and those that want to go and do a 2-day training is a whole different model. So that's where a teacher would come in, So you could bring in 6 of your favorite teachers and your friends and say, let's do this because we can implement this within all of our curriculum. Because none of your curriculum has to change.
Goldie, I have 3 comments that I'd like to make about your dedication. I'm giving you the 3 highest compliments I've ever given anyone. One is you're an innovator, one is you're a philanthropist, and one is you're a good comedian. I want to say several years ago I made a trip to Japan, spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was right with Japanese education and wrong with ours. I concluded that it was the attitude of the students toward education itself. And if the students don't have the right attitude toward education, they won't succeed. So my wife's idea is that we start a foundation to encourage kids to get good grades and to appreciate the quality of education. Seems to me this is a subtle message that I'd like to talk to you about incorporating into your program.
Oh, I see, okay. That would be wonderful.
Thank you very much for your time and effort and your dedication to what's right and doing what's right.
Thank you so much.
Yep, you're good. Okay, I'm a teacher here in Aspen, and we're working on it. That's all I can say. I'm in the upper schools. And so one of the things that concerns me, and I don't know how you have ever thought about this part, is also from the university level down. Almost thinking from my concern comes from the stresses that I feel like sometimes come from the higher ed into the high schools, that get into the middle schools, and with every change that we make towards Common Core and the stresses that teachers feel, I kind of wonder if we also need to be looking from the other direction. Largely just for buy-in, because I worry a little bit about what's happening with high schoolers in particular and upper middle schoolers who are so stressed out about getting into college. I mean, I teach 5th grade, and I had a 5th grader tell me that he's worried about getting into college already. So I just get so nervous about that.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it? So you're right, and I think that the way I look at it is the top-down, bottom-up, which is we have to help our children from the beginning, try to gain some of these resiliency tools. On the other side of it, we're now working in colleges, and one of our board members is the president of Teachers College at Columbia University. So we're now working in that fashion, When we go into high school, so we're ready to launch our high school program, which is really exciting. So we're going to be working in our high schools as well and training there. That training will be a little quite different. They're not going to be doing mindful tasting and eating raisins, but they're going to learn more about their endocrine system and learn more why they do what they do and why they're up one minute and down the next. And, you know, a lot of depression and a lot of things and taking chances. They're going to learn about all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun for them. And on the other side, you need to be able to facilitate some of these issues, you know. Now, are we going to change the world in a decade? Well, I can tell you in a decade I've changed a lot of, not me, but we collectively have changed a lot of children's and teachers' lives, right? You can make points, but you're absolutely right. And that kind of thing has to be put, just as Congress has to have it in them, that Congress needs a totally mindfulness practice. We have to work with them. Come on, guys. You know, meditation is not red, it's not blue. It is absolutely for everyone. So let's get an equal playing field here. Let's sit down and collectively get more mindful about how we're going to achieve this. And I think the same thing really needs to happen with the people within our universities and our high schools and all the counselors. All these people, we have to change that. So you're right, you know, there's so much to tackle, honey. So much.
So Goldie, you take on a school, let's just say it's an elementary school. What's it going to cost them to do this so people have an idea of what it will cost to take a school?
Right. It's $10,000 to have a training. It's a sustainable program. So we come back and we train again and we look at this and then we analyze where you're having problems and we come back and we help you again. And then we look at the end of the year and see how this has worked and how it's done. And then they end up moving to the next year and then we have a 2.0. So we go back and do another training. So we don't leave you, but it's of all these programs that go, it's probably one of the least expensive programs out there, and so that's the cost of it.
Goldie, I want to thank you so much for being here and your enthusiasm and your dedication. I do thank you all so much, and.
So much.
Yeah, let's all stand up and give her a hand. Thank you, Goldie.
Thanks, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. We're really excited to see these great leaders on our stage. We're also excited to see the great leaders in our audience. So thank you for being here and thank you for the change you're making in the world. I encourage you to get more involved. There in your program are upcoming events for the community programs. And if you'd like to be more involved, please consider the Society of Fellows or Aspen Community Programs. Have a great day.